welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, although the first assembly polls are still a while away, the politicking has already begun, especially for the states of Uttar Pradesh and, of course, Punjab. These are really the high-profile states, especially the cow belt. Will the BJP be able to retain the state, or will someone from the opposition wrest it away? Because really that is where the narrative for the next general elections begins, from the state of UP. The opposition, of course, has been talking and saying that don't make this sound like a run-up, don't make it sound like a semi-final, which makes me wonder, are they not so confident of wresting the state away? Why are they talking like this? And of course, Punjab, because that is where the whole farmers' agitation will be tested. Is the Congress in a state to actually retain the state, or is it going to lose it through its own shenanigans? Because if there's any party that is good at scoring self-goals, it is the Congress. And of course, there is Uttaranchal also, where we've seen a lot of happenings with the BJP changing chief ministers every few months or so. So a lot that is happening on the political front. To do a sort of a curtain raiser and take a look at the politics that is happening, I have a panel of experts. Joining me is Rashid Kidwai, Sandeep Ghosh, Sanjay Jha, and Ashutosh. Rashid, the state of the Congress, because the Congress is really, if there is an opposition, it has to be from the Congress. Are you at all confident of them sending a right message in the coming polls?
I think, Priya, there are two things. One is the internal situation of Congress, which seems quite grave and out of control, simply because the Gandhis do not have a buffer. There are a lot of regional satraps are making all kind of noises bordering on defiance, anger, etc. And they don't have, so they have to deal with it. Now, in the faction-ridden party, when you're out of power, this kind of direct dealing is very costly and it's very tricky. And I think that's where Rahul Gandhi's and Priyanka Gandhi's inexperience is also playing out. It's there in the public domain, the way, they accorded so much importance to Navjot Sidhu, and now they're sort of seems to be backtracking. So that's the story. But I think in terms of electoral, battle, these things have very little bearing. Let's look at Punjab. See, the Congress still continues to be quite ahead of other political parties, including Aam Aadmi Party. And the BJP and Akalis are nowhere in picture. If we turn to Uttarakhand, again, a similar story. The BJP is battling huge anti-incumbency, and there is every possibility that, the Congress will make it there. Now we come to Uttar Pradesh, which is very, very crucial. And I agree with anyone who says this is not a semi-final. Look back what happened in December 2018, 3 states, Hindi heartland, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Congress wins. And in Lok Sabha, it just wins. I think in all together, there's 100 odd Lok Sabha seats. They just get, 2 seats. So this is a story of semi-final and final. There's a huge difference. UP, if there is a anger against Yogi, the BJP will pay a price, a huge price. And I see a, fractured mandate. That is my reading and assessment.
Sandeep, do you see UP as a semi-final, or would you say that, every election has its own dynamics and it doesn't reflect on the main general election?
It depends on the outcome. If the outcome is in favor of the opposition, they will say that, okay, this is a semi-final. If it is not, they will say that, no, this was
vice versa from the BJP side.
Yeah, BJP will say it either ways. I think BJP, the issues of, to my mind, the issues of their internal dynamics in UP is far stronger than what is about with relation to the opposition, because this whole Yogi factor, how far, Yogi has his detractors, and who will, if Yogi comes back with a thumping majority now, then, he puts himself in a very different league, even within the BJP system. So there are a lot of dynamics playing out there. Rashid would have a much closer feel of the ground. As the numbers go, my sense is there is, in general, there may be anti-incumbency more based on the caste factors, etc. But if you were to look at a pure governance factor, Yogi doesn't have that kind of an anti-incumbency. A lot of people give him credit for much that has happened in the last 4 years. And he is riding on that. I think his issue would be how to manage the internal party dynamics so that there is no sabotage over there. So UP, I think it's early to call, but if anybody who can turn the tables, it is Akhilesh. And he is, I think, so far playing his cards in a fairly, mature and guarded way, not really going overboard. So I would watch that space.
Suppose Akhilesh Yadav, I remember we've had a conversation. That's why I'm bringing you in at this point. You feel that he is confident in that you're confident that he can wrest the state away from the BJP. Explain to us why.
See, I earlier told you that that Akhilesh can, and I also said that it's too early to say anything. But if Akhilesh starts moving into the UP in the hinterlands, then obviously there will be traction for Akhilesh Yadav. Fortunately or unfortunately for the BJP, Akhilesh Yadav has started moving in UP, and though there is hardly any report about him, he's going from one district to another district. See, there are the four things which will decide UP elections. The first four points is it's a Modi versus UP, a Modi versus Yogi. It's Amit Shah versus Yogi. It's a coroner, and lastly the OBC voters. So why I'm saying so, because Mr. Modi is known that he doesn't जैसे कहता है ना माफी नहीं देते वो किसी को. So the way he treated his man sent to UP aka Sharma, until now there is no cabinet reshuffle. That shows there is a serious crisis in the BJP, and there is a great tiff between Modi and Yogi. And this is the only incident in entire 7 years when somebody has taken Mr. Modi head on within the party itself. If you leave Vasundhara Raje Scindia aside. Secondly, Amit Shah. If BJP wins handsomely in UP, in that scenario, the post-Modi scenario, Mr. Amit Shah will have a very, very tough contender in Mr. Yogi. Will that happen? I'm talking about the real politics. I'm not talking about the theoretical politics. And then the Corona has made things worse, and people are very, very angry. And then lastly, OBC. The way the BJP is trying to hunt OBC voters, that itself signifies the fact that BJP is not confident about the OBC voters. And don't forget, OBC voter has been the real voters for the BJP in 2017, 2014, and 2019. So if they are worried about that OBC voters, if the Prime Minister has to announce that 27 of their ministers are OBCs and they are inducting from UP 6 out of 7 from the OBC, that shows that there is a serious problem. So I think it's a combination of things which will decide UP elections. But I will still hold that it's not easy for the BJP, and BJP will have a very, very tough time. And thirdly, my thesis is that the two elections are never the same, and especially when Mr. Modi has become the Prime Minister, because he carries around 7 to 8% vote, which BJP doesn't have. And so if UP elections happens and Modi doesn't put his 100% over there, then the BJP will be in a serious trouble.
I think if whatever his differences with Yogi are, he also look at the larger picture, and I have a feeling he will put his 100%. But let's see. Sanjay, you are the one who has all the inside stuff, especially what is happening in the Congress and in larger story in the opposition. So what is happening? Is Priyanka going to be the face? Is the Congress going to tie up with Akhilesh, or is the Congress going to get its act together before the state elections?
Priya, I do agree with what, both, or rather all three, Rashid Bhai, Sandeep and Ashu.
There goes my debate then.
Yeah, they're very valid points, but there is a slight difference here. I do believe in Uttar Pradesh, Mayawati will be the factor that you cannot ignore, because she is clearly not looking very much in the fray. And there could be a tactical reason to actually, kind of end up supporting or augmenting the BJP's chances. So, and remember that in every election, her vote shares never go down, really. She still continues to get her 20% vote share. This time, when her own supporters know that she's not going to be a key player, what direction do they take is going to be crucial, because that could help BJP significantly. So to write off the BJP at this stage because of the governance failures or COVID, etc., as Ashu was mentioning, would be rather premature. And I think, as usual, if there is an anti-incumbency against the BJP, the challenge for the opposition is, can you capitalize on that space? And that still remains a question mark. I think on the broader plane where the Congress is concerned, in my opinion, and this is my opinion based on the people in the Congress whom I know in Uttar Pradesh, these are junior level workers, but they are the guys who really fight for the Congress, have been doing so for over 3 decades. They do believe that, fighting on one zone should be done in few seats. It cannot be done all over the state. I think the Congress has to stop getting into this game of vote share. So to give you an example, Priya, if the Congress contests in all over the 400 assembly seats in Uttar Pradesh, its vote share will rise because you will get votes hundred thousands, and it will look like you doubled your vote share. But it's a number of seats that count in a parliamentary democracy, right? The first past the post. So for the Congress, the smarter strategy is focus on the low-hanging fruits. Look at the places where you have a potential probably to kind of get your nose ahead and try and build your base there and, build for a 10-year plan. So I'm trying to, basically strategize here and tell you the Congress has to prepare to lose this election to build and get ready for the next. Ideally, they should have been doing this since the time they lost it in 1990. But, they haven't got their act together, as we all know, but it's better late than never. But I do believe that putting Priyanka Gandhi as the face in Uttar Pradesh will destroy what remains of her formidable brand, at least once upon a time, very formidable brand. My input to the Congress has been that the Priyanka should not be made the face, because it's like a harakiri situation. Because the only way you win elections is if you have a great on-ground organization. The Congress, for reasons beyond imagination or mystery, is the fact that it has never done it over the last 3 decades. You expect it to happen within a few months at a time when you are not the front runner. It is either Akhilesh or it's a BJP. It will be politically unwise or imprudent to do.
Fair enough. And are you going to tell us about your recent dinner with Manish Tiwari? Because I know Rashid has been speculating as to what exactly happened in that dinner.
I think all I can say is that we are both passionate congressmen, very disillusioned with the state of affairs. And we chatted about it over some vegetarian Thai food.
Vegetarian.
And you didn't have politics to eat?
Yeah, what was on the menu? No?
As I said, that it's inevitable that you talk about the state of affairs, but I think the stuff on the table was more appetizing.
Politics was there in spirit, but not in a letter. Rashid, I know what Sanjay made a good point in terms of like the Congress should focus on the low-hanging fruit, and UP is definitely beyond its reach right now. So don't waste Priyanka there. Maybe, and you've also written about the fact that maybe Priyanka may be sent to Punjab. Would that be a better idea, as to focus on the few seats, but the seats that you can win? Right now you have to add to the opposition's kitty instead of eating into Akhilesh's vote, for instance.
I think, Priya, with the passage of time, in the sense that, closer to election, the options before Priyanka are becoming actually very limited, or I would say almost to nothing. Because if she backtracks, even in whichever sophisticated words or events, it is packaged that she's made in charge of Punjab, where she brings a semblance of normalcy between Navjot Sidhu and Captain Amrinder Singh, or Uttarakhand, it will be seen as, and not only by the media, but in terms of purely perception battle, that will be seen as that, she's running scared. The way she had just toyed with that idea of fighting against Mr. Narendra Modi from Varanasi, and then she backtracked. She was just later on, she said that was just one thought that, she aired, in the sense that she just kind of articulated. But then it was seen as a very serious issue that, Priyanka was not confident enough to take on Mr. Narendra Modi at Varanasi. So I think her UP story is quite bleak. I think she should now go down as a fighter. Whatever votes Congress will get, it will be largely at the expense of BJP. So it will help, her kind of friendly parties like Akhilesh Yadav's party. So that's my assessment of she and Uttar Pradesh.
Sandeep, should we've been talking about whether Akhilesh and the Congress should tie up, and whether that would help or the opposition get together or not. There's a lot of bad blood also between them. Akhilesh has made it very clear that after the way the Congress has been behaving, he's not very keen to do a tie up with them. So should the Congress just step back, pull back, or fight the fight?
No, I think, Akhilesh, whatever, it's a no-win situation if Akhilesh ties up with Congress, and he would have the reason to tie up if there was a larger trade-off he was getting at a national level or in any other state. Here, if he does so, whatever he's going to give away to Congress is not going to help anyone. He'll be just reducing his own seat tally over there, and without really adding to the whole opposition numbers. So I think, tactically, I don't see a logic of Akhilesh tying up. And on your larger question, I think at this juncture, opposition has to maximize their position of strength wherever they are. So if they have to come together before the Lok Sabha election. So if Akhilesh is the strong point in UP, he has to make the most of it. Similarly, in each state. And the problem would be, and there are some indications of that, if everybody else, in their anxiety to become a national party, also try to put their leg into all these states and scuttle a few percentage of votes, I think that will work against the opposition interest. And I'm clearly meaning people like Trinamool, who are trying to say that, okay, we are no longer a Bengal party, we are a national party, and trying to put their little,
everybody's sensing an opening. Aam Aadmi Party is also a national party these days. Everybody's
Aam Aadmi Party,
as opposition vacuum.
but differently, Aam Aadmi Party is also focusing where they have they see an opportunity. They're just not, frittering it away. So they see they have traction in Punjab, they have a traction in West UP, Uttarakhand. So those are places where they're really putting their own bucks. Other places, okay, if somebody wants to buy my franchise, Mahavati also had got 2 seats in Chhattisgarh earlier. So that's fine. Give it away. So
I have want to just change the topic a bit and talk to you about Punjab, because you've been doing a lot of shows on that also. What do you make of Captain Amrinder Singh's recent statement on Jallianwala Bagh and, the friction between the two? I mean, poor Harish Rawat got caught in it, but the situation is not solved at all.
I think it's an innocent statement which was made in that sense. There should not be politics to be read around that. See, the Punjab is a state where Congress was winning hands down 2 months back or the month back. But today the Congress has messed up so much that the Congress will have a very, very tough time. I'm still not saying that the Congress is going to lose because Akalis had earned such a bad name in the last in their 10 years rule. And Aam Aadmi Party is nowhere in the picture, though Aam Aadmi Party is trying its level best. But Aam Aadmi Party, there is no leadership, there is no organization, there is no program to talk about it. In fact, Aam Aadmi Party was very well placed in 2017, but this year Aam Aadmi Party is in a dire situation. I think the Punjab is a classic example that how Congress works and how weakened the Congress leadership has been. To make Navjot Singh Sidhu as a party president in Punjab is the worst decision which any party high command would have taken. A man who's not known for the political savviness, the man who's so temperamental, the man who uses bombastic language because that is loved by the people. That doesn't mean that the people will vote for him. But you had made him. And since he had become the party president in Punjab, you see, he has not made any conciliatory move towards Captain Amrinder. And Captain Amrinder has been very, very dignified. I must say this. He has been very, very dignified in his conduct. And the Navjot Sidhu is trying to prick him, provoke him, punctuate him, doing all kinds of things. I think this is the high time if Rahul Gandhi and the Priyanka Gandhi, they want to be taken seriously at the national level for the politics they are doing. They should rein in Navjot Singh Sidhu. And if they lose Punjab this time, I can tell you this will be hell for the Congress party and especially for the Gandhis.
If they lose Punjab, Sanjay, whom would you blame, or whom would Rashid and I sit and blame, and Ashutosh?
Well, Priya, frankly speaking, I have been publicly stating it that the Congress is committing harakiri there in Punjab. But Ashutosh is quite right there. The winds are still in favor of the Congress because, what we say about the BJP in several states, the Congress has that unique position in Punjab because the opposition is not at all in great shape. They are enervated. And I think that puts the Congress, maybe that's the arrogance that you see in both Navjot Singh Sidhu and to some extent a silent Captain Amrinder, whose comment I thought on the new Jallianwala memorial done by Mr. Modi was uncalled for. It was deliberately provocative. And I think to that extent, that is a manifestation of the infighting within the Congress. Having said that, the Congress still continues to remain, I believe, in the front position. It may get lesser seats, but I don't see the opposition yet upsetting the Congress, although the Congress is doing its level best to, snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. But 2 quick points here. As I think who was mentioning that, I think Rashid Bhai was mentioning that, the Congress will probably eat into the BJP votes. I'm not sure. I do believe at this point of time that if you look at the West Bengal voting trends, it's possible that there will be a major consolidation of the minority vote with Akhilesh Yadav. And I think that is what the BJP will play on for a counter polarization story. But I do feel that Akhilesh will probably sweep the minority vote. And therefore, the Congress actually is left nowhere because you won't have the minority vote. The Brahmin votes who are very disgruntled with the Yogi government will probably still remain there because where do they go, right? I think these are the questions that need to be addressed. And I will conclude by making one point. I do believe, and I'm an eternal optimist, the Congress actually has a chance, despite the kind of ridiculous mismanagement they're doing. The Congress can actually still win Punjab. They can win Uttarakhand. They can get Goa back. They can actually reclaim even Manipur. So think, if I was advising Rahul or anybody else, I would say stop worrying about Uttar Pradesh. Do a tie-up with Akhilesh. Don't bring your big ego in. Take a double-digit number of seats where you have a valid chance. Don't make the mistake of what you did in Bihar. Focus on these 4 states because you can actually win 2 or even 3 of them. And I don't agree that the narrative will be built by what happens in Uttar Pradesh. If the Congress can claim that we won 3 or 2 states in the next elections, the story begins to change. I believe the biggest mistake the Congress makes is to ignore the small states. Even Puducherry, Priya, when we lost it and gave it back to the BJP, only made us look more fragile. And look what happened when the assembly elections happened. So I think there's a lesson to be learned. You can get an outsider specialist to come and tell you that, but there are many homegrown advisors who have the heart of the Congress in mind.
I find myself agreeing with you today totally, sir, Sanjay. Ashutosh, you wanted to come in quickly, then I'll get back.
Sir, the minor point which I want to make is, see, Congress has always been known for the factionalism. It's not that the Congress never had factions. But what is happening in Punjab is going beyond factionalism. That somebody here is out to insult and do something which is bizarre, which is not politics. And that's where I blame Sidhu. Sidhu should have been more sober down after becoming the PCC chief. And that's the minor point which I want to make. It's not that Congress party has suddenly become very factional. Since Modi has become the party chief in BJP, there is a perception that there should not be any faction. If there is any faction in any political party, that party is not working well. So Congress is known for the factionalism. But what is happening in Punjab is beyond factionalism. It's not faction. It's something else.
Rashid, what is happening in Punjab is beyond factionalism. The Gandhi scored a self-goal by promoting Sidhu. Would you agree?
I think, Priya, all these things are highly exaggerated and motivated with that intent to, beat the Congress, not through this electoral wins, but otherwise. You look at Punjab, it has a very checkered history. Here is a political party, Akali Dal, a religion-based party that burned copies of Indian Constitution. And those people they came back in the national mainstream, tied up with the nationalist party like the BJP, and enjoyed the fruits of power. And here, somebody's advisor who's not even a member of Congress party, technically speaking, he makes some pronouncement, atrocious or condemnable they are, but it's being made as if the Congress is saying it. So that's what I'm saying. The Congress story is highly exaggerated. See, we must remember that whether it is the Congress that is failing the Gandhis or Gandhis are failing the Congress, there is a total collapse on the part of regional satraps as well as the Congress managers. Everything, the Gandhis are supposed to mend everything. They have to fetch votes, they have to strike repo, they have to, keep everyone in good humor, they have to prop up all their, managers who are considered as AICC general secretaries. I think this is a bit too much.
I think Sanjay and Rashid, we need to get another conversation going on who is failing whom in this. Ask not what your party can do.
Can I answer that very quickly? That's why they say leadership is a crown of thorns. It's not an easy job. But, whatever Rashid Bhai says, it's crazy, it's difficult, it's unfair. But that's exactly why you're the leader. Simple.
I agree with Sanjay. I think the leadership role is to choose the right person for the right job and put the systems in place. If it is not in the Congress, then the blame should go to the.
I think Sidhu was chosen not for his political acumen. They thought Sidhu was the only guy who can, take on Amrinder Singh and cut him to size. And that is what Sidhu is doing a job for. He's just a hatchet man. He's doing that for Priyanka Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, trying to do that. But the opposition strategy, Priya, though you didn't ask me to come in, I'm butting in. I think in Punjab will be to push towards a fractured mandate and see also what happens to Congress post that situation, post this whole Sidhu Amrinder Singh situation. And that's where the point is about being realistic. BJP is realistic that it cannot win Punjab, but it's trying to do something which is tactically, strategically correct for them, which will suit them. And that's where I think what all of us are saying, Congress makes it everywhere one binary equation and then ends up getting zero in the process.
Low hanging fruit, as Sanjay said. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. We got a whole, I think it's a good conversation to go into the weekend with, some diary items for Rashid and me at least. But thank you all, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you for watching this show.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.